One lesser-known story in Black history is that of Robert Smalls, an enslaved African-American who became a Civil War hero and later a U.S. congressman. His daring escape and subsequent rise to prominence is an inspiring but often overlooked chapter in American history. In 1862, during the Civil War, Robert Smalls was working as a deckhand on a Confederate supply ship called the Planter. He had learned a great deal about navigating the waters around Charleston, South Carolina, and devised a bold plan to seize his freedom. Smalls, along with a small group of enslaved crewmen, stole the ship in the early hours of May 13, 1862, while the white officers were ashore. Disguised as the ship's captain, Smalls sailed the vessel past multiple Confederate checkpoints, using secret hand signals to avoid suspicion. Once he cleared Confederate-controlled waters, Smalls raised a white flag and surrendered the ship to the Union Navy. This courageous act not only secured freedom for himself, his crew, and their families, but it also provided the Union with valuable intelligence and weapons. Smalls became a hero in the North, and his story was widely publicized. After the war, he continued to fight for Black rights, including securing voting rights for African Americans. He went on to serve 5 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives, advocating for civil rights, public education, and other progressive causes. Despite his significant contributions, Robert Smalls' story is not as widely known as that of other Civil War figures, but his bravery and leadership make him a vital figure in both Black and American history. Robert Smalls was born into slavery on April 5, 1839, in Beaufort, South Carolina, on the McKee plantation. His mother, Lydia Polite, was also enslaved, and his father is believed to have been the plantation owner, John McKee, or one of McKee's relatives, though the exact identity is unclear. Smalls' early life was shaped by the harsh realities of slavery, but his mother, Lydia, made sure he was exposed to both the privileges and cruelties of the institution. She arranged for him to work in the fields with other enslaved people, to understand the broader scope of the suffering endured by many. She likely feared that Smalls' relatively privileged position, working as a house servant, might distance him from the hardships most enslaved people experienced. At the age of 12, Smalls' owner sent him to Charleston, South Carolina, to be hired out for work. There, Smalls took on a variety of jobs, including working as a waiter, lamplighter, and eventually a skilled sailor and ship pilot in the Charleston harbor. He was able to keep a small portion of the wages he earned, though most of it went to his owner, and he became well known for his competence in piloting ships, which would later play a critical role in his daring escape. Robert Smalls had limited formal education due to being born into slavery, but he was largely self-taught. After his daring escape and heroism during the Civil War, Smalls used his experiences to educate himself further. He learned to read and write as an adult, which was an extraordinary accomplishment for someone born into slavery, where such skills were often denied. His thirst for knowledge and leadership abilities were evident in his post-war career. Smalls educated himself on political and economic matters, which allowed him to become a successful businessman and influential politician. His self-education, determination, and the mentorship he received from abolitionists and fellow leaders played a crucial role in his contributions to the Reconstruction era. By the time he reached his early 20s, Smalls had married Hannah Jones, an enslaved hotel worker with whom he had children. He was determined to purchase his family's freedom, but the cost was prohibitively high, around $800. His failure to raise the money motivated him to seek another way to secure their freedom, leading to his famous escape on the Planter during the Civil War. Smalls' early life, shaped by both the brutal conditions of slavery and his exposure to different perspectives, contributed to his resilience and resourcefulness, traits that would define his later achievements. After the Civil War, Robert Smalls transitioned from being a war hero to a prominent political leader and advocate for African American rights during the Reconstruction era and beyond. Political career. Smalls returned to his hometown of Beaufort, South Carolina, where he purchased the home of his former enslaver, John McKee, using prize money awarded for his heroic efforts during the war. This act was highly symbolic, reflecting his journey from slavery to freedom and success. Smalls became deeply involved in politics as a member of the Republican Party, which was then the party of Lincoln, and strongly associated with anti-slavery and Reconstruction efforts. His political career began in 1868 when he was elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives, where he advocated for education, civil rights, and economic development. Smalls was later elected to the South Carolina Senate. In 1874, Robert Smalls was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, where he served 5 non-consecutive terms between 1875 and 1887. As a congressman, Smalls focused on protecting the rights of African Americans in the South, particularly the right to vote, which was under constant attack by white supremacists and the Democratic Party of that era. He also supported public education, land reform, and legislation that helped former enslaved people integrate into society. One of his notable achievements in Congress was securing federal funding for a naval station in Port Royal, South Carolina, which boosted the local economy. Advocacy for civil rights. Smalls continued to fight for African American rights as the South increasingly embraced Jim Crow laws and racial segregation after Reconstruction ended. He was a staunch advocate for the rights of Black Americans during a time when many of the gains made during Reconstruction were being rolled back. Despite the challenges, he never wavered in his belief that African Americans deserved full citizenship and the same rights as white Americans. Later years and legacy. After his congressional career, Smalls held several important positions, including serving as a customs collector for the Port of Beaufort from 1889 to 1911. He also remained active in local politics, helping to found the Republican Party of South Carolina. In 1895, Smalls spoke out against South Carolina's new state constitution, which effectively disenfranchised Black voters through literacy tests and poll taxes. His efforts to combat these racist measures were significant, though ultimately unsuccessful, as the new constitution passed, marking the beginning of the Jim Crow era in South Carolina. Robert Smalls lived the rest of his life in Beaufort, where he continued to be a respected leader and advocate for African American rights until his death on February 23, 1915. His legacy as a Civil War hero, politician, and champion of civil rights remains an inspiring example of resilience and leadership. Smalls is remembered not only for his bravery during the Civil War, but also for his lifelong dedication to justice, equality, and improving the lives of African Americans in the face of tremendous adversity. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest content. We've got plenty more exciting videos coming your way, and you won't want to miss them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.